Welcome to Leadership Roundtable, where we bring real leaders into real conversations about challenges shaping business, culture, and people. Today's episode is going to be a good one. We're talking about leadership challenges in logistics. And if you've spent any time in logistics, you know this industry tests leadership every single day. Pressure, deadlines, customer expectations, team performance, turnover, communication breakdowns, and the constant need to make good decisions fast. That's why I'm excited to welcome Dr. Wayne Wilson. Wayne brings more than 30 years of executive leadership, coaching, learning and development, and people-first culture building. He has coached senior leaders, developed leadership systems, served as a Vistas chair, and helped organizations build high-integrity, high-performing teams. His brand, helping leaders pivot from pressure to purpose, could not be more fitting for the logistics industry. Wayne understands that leadership is not just about getting results. It's about building the kind of people, teams, and culture that can sustain those results. He has worked with leaders under pressure. He's helped organizations grow stronger from the inside out. And he brings a calm, thoughtful, and practical voice to a field that often moves fast, runs hot, and demands constant problem solving. Today, we're going to talk about what logistics leaders are facing, what they may be missing, and how we can lead with more clarity and more integrity and more purpose. Wayne, welcome to Leadership Roundtable.
John, I appreciate it. Thank you very much. You nailed the transportation, life in the transportation industry up front, right on. I so appreciated that. Wow, right on. Yeah.
Wayne, I'd like to dive into you first. Tell us a little bit more about you, your experiences, and your journey.
Journey's helping people. I decided early in my career, right out of college, that my sense of purpose, my calling, what I wanted to do with my life was to have an impact in people's lives and be really helpful. And I've done that in ministry. I have a master's degree in pastoral care and counseling. I have a doctorate degree in counseling and organizational psychology, both from the Southern Baptist Theological Seminary. So my focus was helping people. I then took that into developing counseling centers. I developed outpatient counseling centers for Wake Forest Baptist Health through their outpatient counseling center program with the Department of Pastoral Care for almost 20 years. Associate Professor of Counseling and Family Studies and Human Services at Liberty University for a dozen years. After leaving mental health and really focusing on coaching. So clarification, coaching's about healing from the past, coaching's about moving forward. So in 2015, I pivoted. That's where pivot coaching and consulting came from. So I pivoted from mental health to coaching, and I had the privilege of being hired and brought to Snyder Fleet Solutions to develop their learning and development and talent management program. So I had the privilege and honor to develop Snyder University, which was a comprehensive front-to-end talent management development program, and it was a great run. But I learned how the transportation industry, in some ways, is similar to healthcare in the demands, the time pressures, the high customer demand. But the pace is amazing. So I learned a great deal about leadership under pressure. I coached from the highest level of the organization all the way down to frontline leaders and developed training for the tire techs and the mechanics and you name it. So I've been inside and out. I've been in the retread plant. I've been in the warehouse. I've been in the commercial retail distribution centers. Been there, done that, John.
Going from pressure to purpose. As a faith-based person, that, of course, the use of the word purpose stands out to me specifically. But what does that mean in practical terms for leaders who are operating in high-pressure logistics environments?
reactive leadership versus proactive leadership essentially comes from, I studied the Leadership Circle 360, Bob Anderson's work with mastering leadership. He's very clear about, kind of makes leadership simple in the sense that it's really about the degree to which your leadership is proactive toward something, creating something, building something, or you're just putting out fires, which is really easy to do in logistics and transportation. So purpose is really that you have a clear sense of where you're going, what you're trying to accomplish in the organization, for yourself, with your team, and you're building toward that, or you're just putting out fires every day and just trying to solve problems as they come up, which is the pressure point, right? If you're living under the pressure, you're always behind the 8 ball. You don't have time for anything other than just whatever fire is right in front of you. That's the pressure element of it. So it's really about a clarity of mind. If you're operating from purpose, you're probably a little calmer, your head's a little clearer. You kind of got a sense of what you want to accomplish, not what you have to accomplish. And if you're in pressure, you know it. You got no personal life, you got no time, you got no energy, you're just surviving. And we all know what that feels like. We've been there, right? Yeah.
So, Dr. Wayne, I'd like to know, how do you tackle that when you've got the leaders who are living in that chaos?
John, here's where that hit me in the face. So I lived by a calendar for 25 years, scheduling appointments on the 50-minute hour after hour. So I assumed this is what people do. And I got into transportation and realized that none of the VPs had a calendar. And then I got into frontline leadership development training programs. We had 87 locations at Snyder Fleet Solutions in 11 states and was doing frontline leadership training. So I would do it virtually. So I partnered with Franklin Covey, and we were teaching the 7 habits of highly effective people for managers. And if you've been in that course, you know that put first things first means that you use a calendar, right? That you identify what's most important and you plan your week around it. I was told point blank by various frontline managers and salespeople, that doesn't work here. You can't plan your time here. How come? One reason, and one reason only. The customer demands will not allow you to plan your time. You have to respond in the moment, every second, to what the customer needs from you. They didn't have a calendar. They didn't use a calendar. They saw no point in a calendar. So there's no planning your time. You just show up and answer the phone and do what's next. And that's where the pressure comes from. There's no sense of priority. Now, the high functioning sales team, the national sales team, the highest performing salespeople in the organization, they had a rhythm. They had a cadence. I'll give you an example. Some of the highest paid commissioned salespeople had a route, and they would work their route, and they would get a call from a customer and say, I need 6 tires today. And they would say, now, John, you know that I'm at your store every 3rd Monday of the month, and I'll bring you all the tires that you need. I'm going to be in the eastern part of North Carolina until Friday. I will bring you your tires on Monday morning, just like I always do. And they would have their boundaries that they would set, and they'd have a cadence, and they would have a rhythm. And if they didn't have that, they were bouncing all over the place, and their lives were miserable. The thing that I think your listeners would resonate to is it's characterized by one thing, John, and you named it earlier, but I think it's a habit, and it's definitely a habit that gets formed in this industry early on, and then it just becomes a way of life. And that is, you get up in the morning, you get ready for work, you go to work, you show up to work, and you do whatever comes at you.
Yeah.
And if that's the life you develop in the transportation industry, you're going to live in pressure. You're not going to live in a sense of purpose, and you're not going to have any control over your time. There is no time management. It's priority management. So we all have the same 12 to 16 hour workday in the transportation industry. And night calls come, and you've got rhythms, and I get that you have rhythms to your work, but if you're not prioritizing what is the most important thing today or this week, then those most important things are going to fight against the urgent, the tyranny of the urgent. Right?
Yeah. I know that this, because you and I have both coached across multiple different industries, and this happens, but specifically in logistics, we see leaders who are often promoted because they were great problem solvers, but they're not always trained to lead people.
Yeah.
Where do you see that gap show up the most?
Well, here's the mantra that I taught all of the leaders in Snyder University, regardless of whether they were first-time supervisors or moving into the C-suite. You manage things. You lead people. If you manage people, they're going to resent you. If they resent you, they're going to hide and lie to you. And you're always going to be having people problems. You're always going to be wondering where they're at, or trying to get them to do something that they're supposed to be doing, or whatever the frustration is. Your life as a leader is going to be filled with people problems. And that's simply because you have not taken the time, energy, and steps to develop collaboration with them. You're trying to use people as a tool to accomplish something. And I know that these leaders, because I know them by name, are exceptionally committed, devoted, hardworking, focused people that can accomplish a ton. But they're self-driven. And if you move from self-driven to team-driven, and you're driving other people the same as you drive yourself, they may not appreciate that. And so it's really about shifting your mindset from creating really the team environment. Think about whatever your favorite sports team is, basketball or football or soccer, or whatever your favorite athletic group that's team-oriented is. They have to work together. They have huddle, or they have game plan together. They execute together. They all have roles. It's really very similar in transportation, because you're functioning as a team, getting things done as a team. And so it's really about engaging people, using quality people skills, good communication, and not trying to drive other people the same way that you drive yourself. That's been my experience. What have you seen? What's of it?
What I see a lot, and this is across industry, there's one exception where I don't see it, and that is if the career development or the growth trajectory that they're on requires certifications, licenses, some type of some type of governance there. Okay. You don't normally see it there, but when we're talking just about logistics, I have seen drivers pulled off trucks and made managers simply because they showed up consistently, but they were never trained. And here's where I'll go back to something you said. They were never trained on how to manage the task or lead the person, but they showed up every day. And
this is one of the best industries, I think, anywhere in the world if you need an opportunity. Right? Yeah. If you're hardworking, devoted, and you can manage yourself, you can get things done. This is an amazingly good industry to find opportunities and to grow and to make a great living for yourself. But there's not that training. There's not those, right? There's not those people skills. There's not those supervisor skills. There's Those you either are going to have to learn yourself or get it from the outside. That was the purpose of Snyder University. That's what the owner of the company brought me to Snyder for, is to cultivate that within the company and develop some learning and development within the company. That's what we did.
You talk about high integrity and high performance or high performing leadership. And I'm curious, how do you define integrity when the operation's under pressure, decisions have to be made fast? And I'll add the caveat to that is that maybe you don't have the appropriate training in place.
So when they're being done right, it's really about that leader showing up consistently in the same ways that people can rely on. They communicate what needs to be done, what the organization needs, or what the customers need, and what the expectations are. And they're consistent with that, and they're upfront with that. There's a concept in the Sandler sales training that we used at Snyder called the upfront agreement. They have an agreement. They have understandings about the level of performance, and they set those and they don't compromise on those. The best leaders in high performing environments are constantly out front of what needs to happen by when and who's going to do it. And they're really, really good at accountability. Some of the best leaders I've ever met in transportation, in many of the companies that you and I work with and know of, they are exceptionally good at accountability. And that's not about barking orders, and that's not about being rough around the collar. It's about being clear about expectations, who's doing it, and when it's supposed to be done by. And then they make sure that it's done, and they're clear about that, and they don't compromise on that. But in the course of doing that, those leaders, what makes them better than the other ones we're going to talk about in a second, they go the extra mile. That was our favorite term at Snyder. They go the extra mile in that they get to know the people and they have a relationship with them. Here's an example of the alternative of that. The other thing that you asked me, the second part of that question is, a vice president of sales needs the salespeople to drive during the summer months, because this is our growth time. In the tire business, you sell most tires during the summer. So the VP of sales needs the sales team to perform at the highest level during that season. That leader needs to call the regional sales managers and the best salespeople and say to them, I need the company and I need you to set your focus for the next 3 months and go at it as hard as you can. And then take 2 weeks off if you need to in the fall. But let's drive hard. If you don't have a relationship with those people, one, they probably will avoid your call. And you're going to have to chase them. Then you're going to get on the call and I started to use the P word, and you're angry. And you're really angry. And you're going to bark at them. And now you can ask them anything you want to, and they will shake their head and they will nod and they will not do it. Because they are not working with you. They are working against you. And so you're still trying to get the work done, but you don't have the engagement, the collaboration, and the participation of those that you most need to be on your team when you most need them to be on your team. So that leader may have shown up the same consistently. They may be clear with their expectations. They may communicate well, but they didn't go the extra mile. They don't have the quality of relationship when push comes to shove to ask for extra effort or ask for focus at a particular time. They don't have in the Franklin Covey 7 Habits training, they call it the chips in your pocket or money in the bank. They don't have the relational equity to call on it when they need it. So they don't get the performance out of it. And I think that's the difference in integrity in high performing environments, is whether or not you take the time and energy to cultivate relationships.
I agree with that more. Great answer. So one last question on this topic is, you've coached senior leaders and succession candidates. What separates a good operator from someone who's truly ready for that next step in leadership?
Learn the business, learn to manage the
Mhm.
business. Um, I've seen really, really, really good operators, really good commercial tire techs, really good mechanics, really good warehouse supervisors move into the business and move into leadership management, and they just didn't have their head around the business. So now they're behind the eight ball trying to figure out how to read a P&L and what are their most important assets and how are the assets related to the profit and loss. And then all of a sudden their leaders barking at them because their numbers are off and they don't really know what levers to pull or where to focus the work. So they can't
Mhm.
guide the team because they don't really genuinely understand what makes the business tick. And in logistics, and particularly in transportation, it has an awful lot to do about how you're using your assets
Okay.
and where your time's going, right? And
Yeah.
so to move from a first-time frontline leader into a mid-level management, and absolutely positively, you cannot move from running multiple stores or multiple locations or from a mid-level management position into an executive role and not really understand what makes the business tick, what creates margin, and what makes a healthy business. But the best VPs in the business, they know it inside and out.
Yeah. Again, great answer. I agree with that. So, shifting again, I want to talk about some of these assessments and different tools. You've
Hmm.
used EQI,
I've used them
Pearman,
all.
and yeah,
Hmm.
so logistics, Leadership Circle 360. I want your take on number one, the first question, and I'll leave it here, then I'll ask you the follow up questions. If you've used them all, do you have a favorite?
I am personally a fan of the Myers-Briggs. So I'm certified in Pearman. I think Pearman is a great interpretation of the Myers-Briggs, but it's complicated in the context of transportation industry. I used it when I first went to Snyder, and it's a great guide in terms of helping people understand themselves and what makes them tick, but it's can be hard to get your head around. So I moved more toward using simpler versions of personality assessments. DISC is fine. The Enneagram works. It's simple and really provides more insight to people's blind spots where they have a tendency to operate in the negative more so than just profiling people with the DISC. So I found the Enneagram to be really useful in transportation industry. The Leadership Circle 360 is one of the best leadership 360s I've ever seen. But it is so detailed and the data is so specific and precise that it's difficult sometimes to use. One of the greatest complaints I had about delivering the Leadership Circle 360 in the transportation industry is it takes 20 minutes to fill out the survey.
How do you think emotional intelligence helps leaders in logistics handle conflict, turnover, and daily operational stress?
Gosh, you're just living in pressure. I mean, from the moment you show up, it's 24/7. It never shuts off. And there are always customer demands. There's always crises. There's always a challenge. It's very much like healthcare in that sense that it's
Mhm.
those things are very consistent. And so it is a pressure cooker.
Okay.
And if you are not managing your emotions are going to manage you. And if
Absolutely
you
agree with that.
and if your emotions are managing you, then you're going to end up shooting yourself in the foot, burning out, getting tired, making mistakes. Or you're going to end up
Mhm.
in the lower end of the emotional scale, angry, scared, frustrated. Then when you take that out on other people, we're back to the earlier part of the conversation. So it's first about staying calm yourself, staying clear in your own head and in your own space, and keeping those pressures in perspective and being able to lead groups of people under pressure, in pressure circumstances, because pressure's not going to let up, and there's not going to be downtime, and so it's really about leading in an environment of pressure. And so emotional intelligence is just foundational for good leadership. It's what I have seen in particularly transportation and healthcare separates exceptional leaders from leaders who end up either burning out or losing the respect of their team, and just turning people over. Turnovers high in low healthcare industries, service part of the industries, maybe not doctors and surgeons and those kind of things, but in the service portion of healthcare, turnovers high, and it's high in transportation and logistics. And part of that's because the leaders don't always lead with emotional intelligence. They drive people hard instead of leading them.
You mentioned, as a part of your answer to a previous question, you talked about reducing turnover. And one of your achievements is you've reduced turnover by 62%.
We did, man. We nailed it. And in tire techs and in a high pressure corporate environment, we nailed it. Yes, absolutely.
What are the leadership habits that make people want to stay?
No one cares what you know until they know you care. It wasn't complicated. We built an environment in corporate offices where you had to, like, when people left, they cried. They were sorry when they had to go. When they would get promoted or they would move to a different company, we would have these parties and there would be all these tears and they were sad to go. It wasn't complicated. We just built relationships. No, they weren't friendships in the sense, like, we would do some things together, but it's just simple things like knowing their birthdays, taking 10 minutes at lunch, bringing cake, in the commercial tire centers. My team's still doing it across multiple companies that have now moved. One of the trainers that trained my tire tech is one of the best tire tech trainers in the world. Can I give him a shout out?
Yeah, absolutely. Please do.
Dennis Jackson's one of the best tire tech trainers. He works for Parrish Tire now. He's one of the best tire tech trainers in the country. And he's still doing. He sent me pictures 2 days ago. He was cooking hamburgers for a group of tire techs that he had just done TIA certification training with. It's not complicated. It's just a matter of stopping and building some relationship. He knows all their names. He knows their kids' names. We worked on this in Snyder University. If you were a trainer at Snyder University, you had to know your people. You had to spend some time and get to know them. It's just about building a relationship. It's not complicated.
I mean, everybody has their own level that they reach, but what does burnout look like in a logistics leader before they're willing to admit they're burned out?
Number one, are we being honest and real with your leaders, or are we being really transparent here?
My next question is about authenticity, so let's be honest.
How much are you drinking? How much are you drinking? Right? It says, how on the weekends, at the end of the day, how many beers are you drinking before you realize you're done? Or do you keep drinking until you're asleep? Do you sleep? Do you drink yourself to sleep? Right? Have you started drinking or smoking something that you don't need to on breaks because you're just frazzled? Substance abuse is high. It's really, really high. And it's just because they've pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed and pushed themselves. And I respect that. But then they're at that place where they're just irritable and they're just tired all the time. And then substance abuse becomes really high. It's high in the truck, believe it or not. It's high in the trucks. It's high on the road, which is scary. It's high in the warehouses. It's just, that's the first place it shows up. Probably secondly is you're either sleeping all the time or you're sleeping 3 or 4 hours and then waking up and you just can't get back to sleep because your adrenaline is so high. You just have not found a way to shut it down. So you either crave sleep and you're sleeping all the time and oversleeping, or you just can't stay asleep. One of the two. Those are the two ways I see it show up most.
I do kind of the opposite. Is if the pressure is high and if I don't feel like I'm hitting my goals and I'm not getting the job done, I retreat from any type of stress relief, which is probably the worst thing to do. But like you talked about alcohol in general. So for me personally, I enjoy a cocktail at the end of the night. But if the pressure's high for me, if I've got goals that I'm not hitting, if I've got deadlines I'm not hitting, or if I have any work on my plate that I didn't get done today, to me, the reward is the cocktail. But I see what you're saying. And, specifically with different things becoming legal in different states, in Michigan, where I'm at, we have a higher instance of guys using substances that are legal to use now, but they're using them to manage their day. And in my opinion, they're using it as an excuse to manage their day.
Yep. They're managing their emotion. What I saw in the states where THC is legal, in whatever form they were using it to manage their irritation.
Yes.
And their frustration. And so that's emotional intelligence. So they were using the substance to manage their emotions rather than managing the emotions themselves. And that's a lack of emotional intelligence. That's inevitable burnout. Inevitable.
Yeah. So we talked about authenticity. So I'm curious, when you talk about helping leaders stay authentic under pressure, how does a leader remain authentic without losing authority?
Authentic is authority. If you define authority as power, then we'll have a different conversation. I don't define authority as power. I define authority the way that John Maxwell does leadership as influence. So having authority is about showing up and having people's respect and knowing that your role is in the role of leadership and that you're leading a team of people, and it's not about power. It's about influence and respect.
I absolutely love the fact that you referenced John Maxwell. I'm a huge fan, have been so for multiple decades. Yep. But this point right here can't get lost because it might be the most powerful thing you've said during this podcast. Authenticity is authority.
It is authority.
And let that resonate with you just for a minute, because there's just too many people in the world who are fake and hiding behind some type of power title. But you're absolutely right. The people who are more authentic are the people that I want to follow.
Absolutely. Want to follow part is what I see separate leaders who can create growth and sustain it. And if they're hiding behind their title and they're not, I like to use the word congruent. It's the word we used in mental health, right? That they're the same, they show up the same person on a regular basis, even when they're under pressure. But if they're hiding behind the title, the people know. They just know. They're not telling you to your face, but they know that your motives are different, that you have alternative motives, that you're not what you say you are, that they know. And they are not gonna join you in the work. They're gonna work for themselves, and they're gonna work against you.
So what is one leadership habit that sounds simple but would dramatically improve most operations in general, but specifically logistics organizations?
Plan your day. Plan your day. Work your plan. If you're taking stuff as it comes, you're living under pressure. You're firefighting. And you're setting yourself up in transportation industry. I know the customer's always right, so to speak. But customers' needs can be managed in a win-win kind of environment. I gave you a sales story earlier on that. There are There are commercial tire center stories around that. There's delivery times around that. There's all kinds of examples in which, if you learn to communicate clearly and calmly, and you can set some boundaries, you can create routines, and you can create manageable rhythms in your life, and that makes this industry sustainable and tolerable. Just learn how to incorporate planning, managing time, blocking time, and that's the foundation. If you can't do that, you're going to live under pressure. You're always going to put out fires, and it's not going to be fun.
Wayne, if you had a magic wand and you can wave it and solve one problem in logistics, what would that magic wand be used for?
It would be used to reprioritize the industry. The president of our company used to say it in orientation. He'd come into orientation, he had the same presentation every time. We bring 50 to 75 employees in. It was very expensive. He would show up and he would say to them, "Who's the most important person?" So in logistics, John, what would you say? If you were in orientation and the owner of the company said, "Who's the most important person?" what would you say?
So quite honestly, I would say the person who's delivering the product to the end customer, for me as a leader, is the most important person. And I've been asked that question before, and that's how I've answered it. And I get challenged on it all the time because everybody has their own opinion of who is that most important person. But go ahead, I'll let you finish before
everybody in the room at Snyder University who was a new employee would say the customer.
Yep. Yes.
The customer is the most important. And he would shake his head and he would go, not. The most important person is you. You are the most important person. And if you are taking good care of yourself and you are healthy and you are focused on what you're doing and you know your work, you will take good care of our customers. If you are frazzled and tired and hungry and can't pay your bills, you're not going to take good care of our customers. You are the most important person. And I would shift that mindset. That's the thing. The customer's always right and the customer's most important, and we have to respond to every need that the customer has. I'd shift that.
Yeah. I love that. And I want the listener to know that was not scripted. That was a real question that he just threw at me. And he had no idea how I was going to answer. And I love the fact that I didn't have to tell you my why because we're completely aligned there. So, yeah.
I have the absolutely highest respect for folks in this transportation industry. You are the hardest working, most dedicated focused people I've ever met in my entire life. But you got to learn to take better care of yourself. Mm-hmm. So learn to take better care of yourself and find some balance. It's a hard business in that it's always on, and you do a good job. So thank you for that.
Other than your website, Wayne, what's the best way for people to reach out to you if something you've said here today resonates with them and they want to further that conversation?
The landing page. It's a landing page right now. The website is under final revisions. It'll be done in the next couple of weeks. But CoachDrWayne.com is where I want to send folks to, and just book a conversation. It's a free conversation. I start relationships. The money will follow, and if I can help you and I can help be a coach for you or develop some training for you, we'll put a value to it and come to those terms. But it starts with a relationship, and so it's just a free consultation. Let's just talk about what's happening with you, what's not meeting your own expectations, and what you want to be different. Just give me a call. Let's have a conversation.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your time today. And appreciate you joining me on the show. And I hope that you'd consider coming back at some point in the future.
I'd love to. I love talking leadership in transportation logistics. So love to be back anytime. And thank you for highlighting this in this industry. I appreciate it.
Yeah, you're welcome. So thank you for joining us on another episode of Leadership Roundtable.